I did not arrive with fire or light. There was no tear in the sky, no sound, no warning. One moment I was elsewhere, and the next moment reality around me felt wrong, like a thought held too tightly. This universe was heavy. Not physically heavy, but emotionally dense. Every layer of it pressed inward, filled with war, fear, and endless belief. Hope was not absent, but it was buried deep. Crushed under centuries of survival, I understood immediately that this was not a gentle reality. Everything here had been shaped by conflict. Even the silence carried tension, as if the universe itself was waiting for the next scream. I could feel history clinging to the air, soaked in blood and prayers. This place did not move forward. It endured. I was standing on Terra, close to the Imperial Palace. I knew this without being told. The weight of importance was overwhelming. No ordinary being was meant to stand here, yet here I was, untouched, unchallenged by distance or permission. The defenses around me existed, but they failed quietly. Systems designed to stop gods hesitated, confused by something they could not define. For a brief moment, nothing happened. Then fear arrived. Warriors surrounded me, fast and precise. Their armor was thick with symbols and meaning. These were not just soldiers. They were beliefs given form. I could feel their training pushing them forward, even as their minds struggled to understand what they were seeing. They did not ask who I was. They did not try to speak. In this universe, questions came after violence. If they came at all, their fear was sharp, controlled, and familiar. Fear was the foundation of their strength. I saw it clearly then. Power here was measured by force, not by understanding. If something could not be controlled, it had to be destroyed. I did not move. I did not defend myself. I let them feel the stillness around me, the absence of threat. I was not angry. I was not here to conquer or save. I was watching, observing a reality that had locked itself into an endless loop of pain and survival. As I looked deeper, past the weapons and the walls, I felt it. A presence older than the structures around us. Ancient, fractured, yet unimaginably strong. A mind stretched thin across time, bound to duty and sacrifice. It was watching me as closely as I was watching it. The Emperor, he was not whole. He was not free. He was a system held together by suffering and belief, sustained by millions who would never know his voice. Yet despite the damage, his awareness was sharp. He knew I did not belong here. He knew I was outside the rules that defined his universe. I acknowledged him without words. The moment I did, everything shifted. The air changed. The warriors felt it, even if they did not understand it. The palace itself seemed to pause, as if reality had taken a breath. This universe noticed me then, not as an enemy, not as a savior, as something impossible that should not exist. But did anyway. I moved deeper into the heart of their palace. Not because anyone commanded it, but because the structure itself seemed to guide me. Every corridor felt like a memory carved into stone. Nothing here was built for the future. Everything existed to preserve the past. This civilization survived by refusing to change, and it showed in every symbol, every rule, every silent gesture of obedience. I watched priests recite instructions they barely understood. I saw machines treated like sacred relics, not tools. Knowledge was locked behind ceremony, guarded by fear. Progress was not forbidden by law, but by belief. To change something was to insult history, and history ruled them more completely than any living leader ever could. They watched me closely as I spoke. I could feel their minds trying to place me into a category they understood. Enemy, God, demon, weapon. Anything familiar would have made me easier to handle. That was when I told them the truth. I told them I was not a god. The reaction was immediate. Confusion rippled through the room, followed by discomfort, then anger. In their universe, power demanded worship. Something vast and uncontrollable had to be divine because that was the only explanation that made sense to them. A being with power but no need for faith was deeply unsettling. I explained calmly that belief was not the source of all power. I said that worship did not create strength, it only fed it. Some listened. Others refused to hear a single word. For them, doubt was more dangerous than any enemy. Then I spoke about their emperor. I did not speak with cruelty or praise. I spoke with clarity. I explained that he still existed, but not as they imagined. He endured through constant sacrifice, bound to a system that consumed lives to maintain the illusion of stability. I said that this system was not eternal. It was surviving, not winning. I did not accuse them. I did not mock their devotion. I simply described the cost. Every day, countless lives were spent to keep the machine running, not to heal the emperor, not to free him, only to delay collapse. That was when I felt the shift. Some of them felt doubt for the first time in their lives. It was small, fragile, but real. Others reacted with rage, clinging harder to their faith, as if volume could replace certainty. A few said nothing at all. Their silence was the loudest response. They understood me, and that understanding frightened them. Belief began to crack, not loudly, but quietly, like stone under slow pressure. As this happened, I sensed something else. A distant movement, like a ripple in dark water. The warp stirred. Attention turned toward me from places that did not exist in any physical sense. I recognized the feeling immediately. I was no longer just being observed by mortals. Other minds were watching now. Vast, hungry, emotional forces that ruled through excess and obsession. They did not understand me any more than the Imperium did, but unlike the Imperium, they did not hesitate. The Chaos Gods had noticed me. Their awareness pressed against reality, curious and threatened at the same time. I understood then that my presence had already changed the balance. I had not raised a hand, yet the universe was reacting. They tried to understand me first. I felt them reaching out from the warp, touching reality the way predators test unfamiliar prey. Their attention was loud, heavy, full of hunger and emotion. Rage, desire, pride, decay. They were vast, powerful, and deeply limited. Everything they were depended on feeling. Everything they did required belief, fear, or worship. That was the problem. I did not reflect their hunger. I did not answer their calls. I did not react the way they expected. I was not shaped by emotion, and I did not need followers to exist. To them, that made no sense. Something powerful that could not be fed, tempted, or corrupted was not just strange. It was dangerous. They could not place me within their rules. So they chose the only response they understood: violence. The warp twisted violently as their decisions spread. Reality began to strain under the weight of their anger. Chaos forces surged toward Terra. Traitor fleets moved with sudden purpose. Old enemies were given new strength. Panic spread across the Imperium like a disease. Alarms rang. Orders were shouted. Faith was sharpened into a weapon. From their perspective, I was the cause. From mine, I was only the trigger. I watched as the Imperium reacted the way it always did. Fear became command. Command became war. They did not stop to ask why this was happening. They only asked how fast they could respond. That was how this universe survived, by never slowing down long enough to question itself. I did not attack anyone. I did not summon these forces. I did not whisper promises into the dark. The war began because my presence exposed something fragile at the center of their system: control. Everything here depended on control. Gods controlled through emotion. Empires controlled through fear. When something existed outside that structure, the entire balance shook. Anything that cannot be controlled must be destroyed. I could feel the Imperium turning against me, even as they fought for their lives. It was easier to blame an outsider than to face the truth. Their world had always been broken. I was simply standing close enough for the cracks to show. Ships burned in orbit. Worlds screamed across the void. Millions fought and died without ever knowing my name. To them, this was just another war in an endless series. To me, it was proof of how trapped they were. Every response they had was violent because no other option had survived their history. As the fighting intensified, the pressure closed in on me. Not from weapons, but from expectation. Everyone wanted an answer, a solution, a command, something to believe in. I understood then that I had reached a point of choice. I could leave, and the war would continue without me. Just another chapter in their long suffering. I could help and reshape the conflict in ways they might not survive emotionally. Or I could remain still, doing nothing, allowing their systems to collapse under their own weight. I stood close to him at last. Not as a worshiper, not as an enemy, just close enough to understand what he truly was. The Emperor was not a god in the way his people believed. He was a system, a vast, broken construct designed to hold humanity together at any cost. His will was stretched thin across machines, rituals, and endless sacrifice. He endured, but he did not live. I could feel the weight he carried. Every decision he had ever made still echoed through him. Billions of lives all tied to a single purpose: survival, not peace, not growth. Just survival pushed forward one day at a time. Humanity had built a cage around him and called it a throne. I considered the first path. I could restore him physically. I could give him a body again, a voice, movement. He would walk among his people once more.